This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is Profit at Night. Plenty coming your way over the next 1 hour. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patankar.
And I'm Mihir Mankad. This has turned out to be one of those days where you can say, don't worry, be happy. Good news on the corporate earnings front, on the markets front, and also a stable government in power now.
That's right, and the government it is right at the top of our headlines pack. Let's take it away and talk about who gets what. All ministers sworn in. Praful Patel retains aviation. Highways for Kamal Nath, Anand Sharma, Commerce and Industry. Raja stays with Telecom. A delay in the Telenor Unitech deal. The FIPB defers its decision. And is General Motors saved? Well, a deal is finally struck with bondholders. The last hurdle cleared.
And keeping on the theme of good news, over and above tax incentives, a special infrastructure project also for special states like Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand by the government to attract investments. And it sure was a big day of big numbers for the big names. The triumvirate of L&T, M&M and SAIL do not disappoint the street. And perhaps a happy ending to the producer multiplex Epic Saga. An agreement might be reached very soon.
All right, but right at the top first, let's get started with those portfolios that have just been handed out. It is official now. We have the list of ministers and just what ministry they will be walking into from tomorrow. Now, let's quickly take a look at it. First up, a big surprise perhaps to be the new Commerce Minister. That is Anand Sharma. He will be holding Commerce and Industry. And that, of course, means that Kamal Nath is now no longer the country's Commerce Minister. You've got Mr. A. Raja still hanging on to Telecom, pretty much where most of the political wranglings seem to end up. And that means the DMK gets its way. IT and telecommunications staying with A. Raja. Another person who's going to be staying just where he was is Praful Patel, staying on in aviation despite indications that he was perhaps looking for a change, looking perhaps even for shipping, but will be definitely staying on in the skies for now. You got Vilas Rao Deshmukh, a big surprise announcement in terms of the cabinet list to begin with. Now gets heavy industries, which means that Santosh Mohandev is of course out. Remember, we did say that Vilas Rao Deshmukh is coming in as a significant political sort of move from the Congress side. You got Kamal Nath, of course, who will still be a part of the government, but now no longer the Commerce Minister. He is now moving to surface transport and highways. Now, that's an interesting move. The Congress will, of course, be looking at this particular portfolio very closely with an eye on future elections, especially at the state level. You got Mr. Dayanidhi Maran, of course, who was being tipped as the Telecom Minister. The Congress would have liked to see that happen, but he will now have to be content with textiles. That is, of course, again, part of the deal brokering with the DMK. Kapil Sibal, another crucial name in the new government, another big name as far as the Congress party is concerned, will be the Minister for HRD, and again, that was perhaps what was expected on some level. You got the Law Minister as well, no longer HR Bharadwaj, remember he was kept out, and you got Veerappa Moily now, who will be occupying the Law Ministry. And the Minister with independent charge will be Salman Khurshid. That, of course, is for the minority affairs. And you've got another portfolio which is pretty crucial. Mr. Jaipal Reddy will be stepping in for urban development. That's again perhaps crucial, and one in fact that was initially being tossed around as Mr. Kapil Sibal's name in fact going to that one. But you got Ambika Soni, who will be the new INB Minister, and again she will be of course stepping into a role that she was perhaps tipped to being chosen for. Another big one, this is of course the Petroleum Minister, the familiar name of Mr. Murli Deora, still attached very much with the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry as well. And you've got of course Farooq Abdullah, who remember may have initially been miffed at being passed over for a cabinet berth, but now comes in as Minister of New and Renewable Energy. He was of course angling for health, remember, but Minister of New and Renewable Energy, that's Farooq Abdullah. Besides that, you've also got a few other crucial names, people like Sushil Kumar Shinde holding on to the Power Ministry now, coming back to that. And of course, you've got Meera Kumar with Water Resources. Mr. Aragiri gets Chemicals and Fertilizers, and BK Handik is now the Minister for Mines and Development of the Northeast region. That's again going to be a crucial area that the government will be concentrating on. Arijit Banerjee is joining us right here on Profit at Night. Arijit, we've been talking about these expectations. We've talked about the kind of names that have been doing the rounds. Some of it pretty much going according to even the best of plans, and some huge surprises there, especially Anand Sharma stepping into Commerce and Industry.
Definitely, Siddharth, a pretty surprising change there with Kamal Nath moving to the Surface Transport Ministry. Siddharth, of course, the Surface Transport Ministry will be a focus area for the government. Anand Sharma, of course, being elevated to the cabinet rank this time and getting the Plum Commerce and Industry Ministry. If you look at it, there are a lot of old hands there. Praful Patel remains with the Civil Aviation Ministry. Murli Deora remains with Petroleum Ministry. Sushil Kumar Shinde with the Power Ministry. Of course, there are some new entrants. Ghulam Nabi Azad enters with the Health and Family Welfare, and then Dayanidhi Maran comes in with the Ministry of Textiles. A. Raja will continue to hold the Communication Textile Ministry. There was a lot of controversy over this ministry, Siddharth. Questions were being raised on the way the Telecom Ministry has been handled by him, and there were whispers that the Prime Minister doesn't want him to retake that portfolio. But it seems that all that is now behind him, and he is back in his earlier position as the Minister for Telecommunication and IT. Of course, Praful Patel will remain as the Aviation Minister, even though he will be an MOS position. There are a few more. Aragiri comes in as the Chemical and Fertilizer Minister. Subodh Khan Sahai, the lone congressman to win from Jharkhand, also gets his earlier ministry, which is Food Processing Ministry. So definitely, then Kumari Salja remains at her earlier position of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. So definitely few changes, but a lot of the earlier ministers retaining their portfolios, and some surprisingly.
One other point that's interesting here, Arijit, is the fact that you got certain names. You mentioned, of course, crucial surprises there. And the Commerce Minister now, of course, perhaps being the biggest one. But Kamal Nath, with an eye on future elections, do you think a lot of politics playing a role here, despite the fact that Manmohan Singh was promising a government that was going to be very sort of proactive in its overall stance? Kamal Nath is one name that comes to mind. Veerbhadra Singh stepping into the Steel Ministry. Perhaps another political game there.
Definitely, Siddharth. The problem with, of course, this time government formation was that many states had done pretty well and they had to be rewarded. Many states were expected to actually hold elections, are expecting to hold elections in the next few years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. They have to be rewarded. And then there were so many senior party leaders who had come to the center. There were ex-chief ministers who couldn't be accommodated as ministers of state. They had to be given cabinet berths. So all these considerations have played a big part in the way the portfolios have been allocated. Then, of course, there were tantrums by the various allies. Remember, Farooq Abdullah didn't want to be a Minister of State for Independent, even though the formula which Congress had adopted for all its allies meant that that National Conference wouldn't have got actually a cabinet rank minister. But then Farooq Abdullah did manage to get it. So all these issues have been kept in mind when allocating ministries. New people like Mukul Wasnik, who have been waiting in the wings for quite some time, who have been known as party men, have been organizing party for quite some time, have been now elevated to the cabinet sport. They had to be given cabinet rank ministerships, and they have been given that this time. Siddharth.
Right, and of course, we're also seeing some other interesting names here. You mentioned, of course, Farooq Abdullah being one of them, perhaps not getting the ministry of choice. That seems to be, again, a bit of a theme, because in this whole wrangling between, who gets what and who's going to be happy with what, not just the individual ministers in the actual office, but also some of their party bosses in the case of the allies. Now, given that sort of a situation, you've also got people like, let's say, Farooq Abdullah, who would have liked health, perhaps would have been a good fit for tourism, as was being pointed out as well, even by Congress sources, ending up with renewable energy. So, in the end, are we saying that we're going to have probably a little bit of teething problems in the beginning with these new ministers settling into new positions?
Siddharth, the problem actually was that Congress had 206 members from its own party coming to power, and they had to be adjusted. And definitely Congress wanted all the plum postings for itself, so it needed people to be rewarded. And that's why you find that people being somehow accommodated and being given ministries. Definitely teething problems. You look at, of course, Mamta Banerjee taking charge in the eastern headquarters of Indian Railways in Kolkata. Well, that's the first. So you will have people like probably Mamta staying more in Kolkata than in Delhi. Then, of course, as you pointed out, the party bosses saying Trinamool is a case in point where there's only one cabinet minister, though they could have had more. But they have most of the other Trinamool Congress leaders who have won are coming in as Minister of State, and only one position being held in the cabinet berth, and that is by Mamta, even though according to the formula they could have had more cabinet ministers. But maybe Mamta Banerjee wanted to be the only cabinet minister, and the rest of the other members have been asked to become members of state. So sort of very strange combinations happening, very strange positions being given. But I think, Siddharth, if you look at it, most of the key ministries are still seem to be in capable hands to have been given to people who have been known to perform. Maybe in one or two cases, political expediency has overtaken the performance criteria. But at least in some ministries, people who were seen to be doing some work have been allowed to retain those ministries and continue with their work.
Arijit Banerjee, thank you so much for that update. And it looks like Team Manmohan is being announced and some key ministries are being filled in. Some big names for big ministries, and our entire team of reporters has done an analysis of the key challenges for each of the ministers in their new ministries. Here it is.
The government has to give a big push to the road projects. There are 50 road projects worth 60,000 crore rupees still in the pipeline. Of the 7,300 kilometer long north-south east-west corridor, just 45% work has been done till January this year. The project, spanning 17 states, was to be completed last year. Of the over 5,000 kilometer long GQ, 400 kilometer is still to be done. The Planning Commission has suggested a third stimulus package to give a push to the infrastructure projects. It has also suggested a relook at the PPP mode and transferring most of the road projects to BOT annuity.
Well, as far as the Commerce Ministry is concerned, the task at hand is tough, but expectations are high. Well, first in line is, of course, reviving the export sector that has been declining since October. 2 stimulus packages have already been given, a third has been ruled out. Well, the major concern, of course, here is creating jobs for labor-intensive sectors like textile, gems and jewelry and leather. Next in line, of course, is opening up of FDI in single brand retail. It has faced a lot of backlash in the recent past and could have huge repercussions for mom and pop stores and traders in the country. Also in question is liberalizing the SEZ Act. SEZ units have been facing a lot of tough times in this time of recession. They have also been asking for liberalizing and relaxing the norms of computing income tax on profits. Back to you.
Well, as far as the priorities for the Power Ministry is concerned, it is more and more power generation, and for doing so, launching more and more UMPPs is certainly going to be the priority. But along with that, the focus will also remain on nuclear energy and sourcing more and more raw material for the same program. But along with that, as far as the disinvestment is concerned, the IPO of NHPC is also going to be the priority for this ministry. And as far as the Petroleum Ministry is concerned, the IPO of Oil India Limited is going to be the priority. But along with that, the priority also goes to deregulating the petrol and diesel prices and not overburdening the upstream and downstream companies. But along with that, the success of NELP's 8th round and more round coming is going to be the priority, because that will attract more and more foreign investment in the country.
For any new incumbent of Nirman Bhavan, the first priority will be to revive the prospects of the real estate sector, at least in the urban areas. Now, this cannot be done without increasing demand for urban housing. Demand for urban housing in turn can only be done if the government makes efforts to create low-cost and affordable housing schemes in the urban cities. This will not be all about the new urban development minister. The new minister will also have to see how he wants to take forward the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission. This mission was, mind you, one of the most successful programs of the previous government, and all eyes will be on whether fresh funds are allocated to this mission or not, and how and whether the government goes in full-fledged in extending this mission to other cities of this country or not.
The new Civil Aviation Minister would primarily have 2 tasks at hand, which he would probably need to attend to very quickly. One, of course, to see how Indian aviation companies can bring in more money. That would be probably done by allowing foreign airlines to invest in Indian airline companies, something which is not allowed till now. The other thing would be to help and pour more money into Air India, probably by infusing more equity into the company and also giving them some grants. Then moving on to the telecom sector, the telecom minister would be, of course, looking at getting 3G auctions off the ground. That would not only bring more money to the government of India, to the coffers of government of India, but also launch a new service. The second thing, to bring clarity on 2G spectrum, whether that should be auctioned or there should be pricing or how it should be allocated, something which most of the existing telcos would be looking forward to.
Right, now you of course had the entire team Profit there bringing you exactly what the big challenges for those ministers are going to be as they step into office. And we've of course got Arijit with us still, and he was of course there reporting earlier from the capital, talking about the key challenges for the telecom minister as well as of course for the aviation minister. And we've got Rajkumar Sahu now joining us as well live from the capital right here on Profit at Night. All right, Arijit, now you'd be, of course, pretty satisfied with the fact that, you've got Praful Patel and Raja, both your existing ministers to perhaps track. But Raj, you've got a couple of new faces coming in over there. And What sort of political compulsion versus productive sort of movement forward would you like to read into just what we've heard?
Well, Siddharth, as far as the new faces are concerned, I guess the ministries I cover generally, it's all of the ministries are seeing, half of the ministries are seeing new faces. For example, heavy industries and Ministry of Public Sector Enterprises, that will have the minister as Bilas Rao Desmukh, and this is going to be very, very important ministry in coming days, especially seeing the disinvestment of the public sector companies. This is going to be very important. Also, because this under this ministry, only important or rather very high profile company is BHEL, and that is going to be a very high profile company in coming days, and to look for. As far as the petroleum ministry is concerned, the compulsions of the minister, who is actually an old guard in Congress and also in this ministry, his compulsions would be to deregulate the prices and bring and not to overburden the upstream and downstream companies, and to formulate a formula, bring out a formula where the upstream companies are not unnecessarily given the burden of the downstream companies. For power companies, of course, Sushil Shinde have to actually work on UMPPs and more power to achieve the target of power for all, which is actually the agenda of UPA. And as far as the steel industry is concerned, this is a surprise package basically, because Birbhadra Singh, who is a representative from Himachal Pradesh, he has to work a lot as far as the steel industry is concerned, and seeing the downturn right now. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of issues that all this ministry have to concern. As far as the new ministers are concerned, Birbhadra Singh and Bilas Rao Desmukh in heavy industries and Birbhadra Singh in steel industries. So they have to cope up in much aggressive way, especially the heavy industries and Ministry of Public Sector Enterprises. Back to you, Siddharth.
All right, Raj, hang in there. I want to quickly make another point here before I come to you, Arijit. You've got more names, of course, that are still coming out, and you've got Agatha Sangma going as Minister of State Rural Development, Shashi Tharoor, Minister of State External Affairs, as expected, Sachin Pilot, Minister of State Communications and IT, and Jitin Prasad for Petroleum and Natural Gas as Minister of State. Corporate India will be watching these developments very closely, Arijit. What sort of a fine-tuning or a tightrope walk would you say that both Manmohan Singh and Sonia Gandhi would have had to do to try and keep, the sensible side of things going along with the political side? You've got certain names here which have gone absolutely unexpected lines, and then there are those huge surprises. We talked about it at the beginning, but going forward, how much of an impact is this going to have to business, industry? You got the budget coming as well.
Siddharth, of course, a lot of young legs joining the ministries. If you look at the Minister of State positions, some very interesting names coming in. As you just said, Sachin Pilot coming there, Jitin Prasad coming to the Ministry of Petroleum as the Minister of State. Then Ajay Makan getting a very important ministry, which is Minister of State, Minister of State in the Home Ministry. Then you look at Jyotiraditya Scindia, Minister of State in Commerce and Industry. So it seems that while Manmohan Singh has been giving the responsibilities to those people who have been already handling these ministers, there also seems to be a sense of grooming the new faces, the youth of the Congress into these important ministries, in a way allowing them to break into these ministries slowly, so that probably 5 years down the line they can be projected as cabinet ministers themselves. So very interesting development. While in the last government, most of these young people did not have important ministries, it seems as this time most of the young people have also been given important ministries, even though as Minister of State positions, but probably in a way most of the cabinet ministers who are at least Congress ministers would be grooming them to take on the responsibilities in the future. Siddharth.
Arijit Banerjee, just to follow up a question with you, let's talk about some of these announcements and key ministries that have also just come in. We've got Jaipal Reddy for Urban Development, Human Resource Development is Kapil Sibal, and Veerappan Moily is Law Ministers. These ministries, of course, will impact the business world in a big way. Do you have any comments on the capability of these ministers to handle their new portfolios as they're given out right now?
Mihir, if you look at it, Jaipal Reddy was the urban development minister earlier, so he has been actually credited with doing a lot of good work, and he had Ajay Makan as the Minister of State, who's now of course moved to the Home Ministry. So of course Jaipal Reddy has a good track record. Then Kapil Sibal, who was the Minister for Technology, has come into this new position. So again, Kapil Sibal has a very good track record of performance, expected to perform as he's considered to be a performing minister. So definitely, because remember, Mihir, these are going to be key areas for this new government. Social sector is one of the key areas for Congress, whether it's urban development, which means housing for the urban poor, or bringing in reforms in cities to the Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission, or is it HRD, where setting up schools, that is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or other ministries or other projects are concerned. These are key projects for the Congress government, and putting these ministers in these ministries at least means that the government is looking for them to deliver on these promises which have been made, because the Congress this time feels that they have won on the Aam Aadmi plank, and they need to take these social sector projects forward further, and the Congress is expecting these ministers to deliver on these projects. Arjun Singh, of course, is out, and he was considered to be not performing in the HRD ministry, so you have a new minister there, a minister who's considered to be a performing minister, to try and deliver on health, on education, on housing for the poor and these issues. Mihir.
All right, well, we'll have to leave it at that for now, guys. But many thanks for being here with us, Arijit Banerjee and, of course, Rajkumar Sahu, both from the capital, both also part of our set of young legs that's going to be tracking these ministers every step of the way, keeping pace with them right through as they go into their new offices. Many thanks, guys, again. And, of course, we stick to this agenda that the new government has. Finally, the suspense is over as to who gets what portfolio, and it does get down to business. Now, one of the first few things that the government is going to have to deal with, of course, is the budget. Remember, it's already been announced by the Finance Minister, Pranab Mukherjee, that the budget will be over and done with by the end of July. And one of the crucial packages expected is for the infrastructure space. It looks like it's already being prepared. Onitam Ojasena brings you an exclusive report with all the details of that package.
Neighbouring states envy, owners pride. No, this is not an advertisement tagline, but this might well speak about the status of special category states given to Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir and the northeastern states. The government is now planning to announce a specially designed infrastructure package for these states to attract investments and boost the economy. But will the infrastructure companies be eager to grab a pie and be a part of the infrastructure development story in these states?
Jammu, yes, we have done in the past, Jammu and Kashmir. We will be cautious. And if the area of the state which is peaceful, we will work. Otherwise, possibly we'll have to think twice. When it comes to northeastern state, majority of the states we have experience in working. You know, we build Guwahati stadiums. We had bid for the oil and gas project, which you just mentioned, that the first tender we lost. And therefore, I don't see any reason why we would not participate in most of these areas. Maybe one or two disturbed areas will be a little careful.
The infrastructure package that might be announced in the budget in first week of July are likely to include 2 to 3 railway projects for Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, upgradation in road construction in all the special category states, and with power being crucial for industrial production, transmission and distribution of power could be offered to private players through the franchisee route. The proposed infrastructure package will be over and above the tax SOPs package offered by the states to industry. While these states earn revenue from the benefits of the infrastructure package, infrastructure companies can benefit as well by participating in the project development. But to make it a win-win situation for both, the states will have to ensure security of life and property. With Manisha Singhal in Mumbai, in New Delhi, Oinitam Oja Sinha, NDTV Profit.
Okay, so some boost coming for infrastructure, but another area that has gotten a lot of attention over the past few years is this issue of disinvestment by the government. Now, for those of you who were hoping that the new UPA government would go ahead and disinvest in a lot of companies, thereby bringing some private ownership and some better incentives, there might be good news coming your way. Sapna Das tracks this development.
This man seems to have made up his mind on how and when to start the process of selling stock of government companies. In a nutshell, some kind of strategy seems to be emerging on disinvestment of government stake in PSUs. And the process may be kick-started as early as the budget after the Prime Minister told reporters that disinvestment may find some place in the budget. However, a clear political consensus is yet to arrive on disinvestment. And the government may have to do a balancing act, as it also has to ensure smooth passage of the insurance and pension bills in the parliament. Moreover, the finance minister is reluctant to commit himself on any disinvestment related issues on record. But sources say there is a strong need of a disinvestment policy for at least next 5 to 10 years.
Too clever a question, but I understand the nuance, so I shall have to remain silent.
Here are the few disinvestments before the government. There seems to be a strong preference for profit-making PSUs to get political accolades. But at the same time, loss-making units will not be shut down. NHPC and Oil India IPOs will be the test cases, with the NHPC IPO expected to hit the market sometime around September. The government will have to play a balancing act at any point in time as it tries to go ahead with disinvestment and thereby also tries to fill the National Investment Fund. And as this kitty begins to swell and the government decides to use this money to plug the revenue deficit, then it will also have to amend the rules. In New Delhi, Sapna Das, NDTV.
So some balancing done by the government, disinvestment, more incentives, more money coming in. We're going to take a short break now, but stay tuned. On the other side, we bring you some global news, including General Motors, which might soon be Government Motors.
Well, it might just also get saved, Mihir, but let's slip into that break. But plenty more coming up. As we go into that break, let's quickly remind you just once again the new faces of the new government.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Please read the scheme information document carefully before investing. Profit at Night, brought to you by Always Buy a PC with COA sticker, your guarantee of original Microsoft software, and power cooling from General Air Conditioners, the extreme machine.
In a world full of choices, how do you pick the best deal? That's where we come in. Join me, Shivnath Thukral.
And I, Anup Bagchi from ICICI Direct, on answers to turn your money into wealth.
Not just advice, but a complete understanding of the complex world of finance.
The ICICI Direct Turning Money to Wealth show, Saturday evening at 5 on NDTV. Profit.
Say yes to growth. Yes Bank.
Zap the road. Casey Scout is who I be. Everybody wants a piece of me. Zip a zap and it goes zip 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 all over me. Come on.
MRF Nilo Grip Zapper. Zap the road.
Meet the messiahs of modern medicine on this new show. Answer this simple question and win free health checkups at your nearest Apollo hospital. Rhinoplasty is the cosmetic operation of which of the following? A. Breast, B. Finger, C. Nose, D. Ears. Type Apollo 11, space A, B, C or D and SMS your answer to 56388. Find out the correct answer on Sunday at 9 a.m.
Brought to you by Apollo Hospitals Group, touching lives.
Some of them started it very young. Some took a while. Some were hesitant initially. Some of them never wavered. Some thought it's risky. Nonetheless, they did it. They chose to believe in themselves. They chose to take their own path.